You're listening to the Monday Night Community Show with Daniel on BRFM.
This is the Daniel Monday Night Community Show on demand through YouTube. Thank you very much for choosing to listen to us through this method. If you'd like to keep up to date with when I add new interviews, then subscribe to this channel. Time for our monthly book club here. The Monday Night Community Show with Lauren, and it's to have you back here in the studio.
Thanks for having me back, Daniel. I was looking forward to it.
I was hoping we could start off with a bit of an introduction firstly.
Of course. So the book that we are discussing is The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. So I'll just give you a brief overview of the plot. It follows three girls. The main character, Rachel, her ex-husband's wife, Anna, and somebody who lives just down the road from where Rachel used to live, a girl called Megan. And we see three perspectives of their lives and what's going on. And basically, Rachel gets the train to work, and every day she looks out of her train window and sees this, what she thinks is a perfect family. Two characters, who she gives names, Jess and Jason. They're not their real names, but she sort of named them a bit like pets, I suppose. And one day she sees something that shocks her when she's looking out the train window. And just slightly odd to this is the fact that she used to live four doors down from these people, and now her ex-husband and his new wife's there as well. So that's the drama that happens there. So it's a bit of a crime thriller, a big twist, and there are going to be some spoilers in this review. So just to warn anyone that hasn't read it yet and wants to, that there will be some spoilers coming up.
So what did you generally think about the book? And well, tell us a bit more about it, I think.
So generally, I love this book, and I couldn't put it down. And as I was reading it, I was thinking, oh, goodness me, I don't want this to end, just because I was so caught up in all the action and everything that was happening. And when I asked a few other people who got back to me after listening to the radio show, a lot of people said the same. So people said that, for example, the book was totally gripping. I need a gripping book, otherwise I lose interest, and I at no point lost interest in this. And then I had somebody else, Steph from Sittingbourne, who says, I liked the pace of the novel. I was always keen to learn more about Rachel's blackouts, keen to learn more about Megan, and that Hawkins did a good job there. So a lot of people just not able to put the book down, and a lot of people said to me that when they weren't reading it, they were thinking about it anyway. So it was certainly on people's minds a lot of the time when they were reading it.
Yeah, I think it was because I've started, but I haven't finished. But you could sort of imagine that person, the way it was talking, when she was sitting on the train and what she looked like.
I certainly think so. I mean, you listened to it on audio, didn't you, Daniel?
Yes.
So how did you find it listening to it on audiobook?
Yeah, I quite liked it. I think it helps you to imagine it more, and sort of get on with different bits and listen to it in the background. So you sort of visualise these characters from the person who's reading.
I'm no expert on audiobooks. I've only actually ever listened to 2 audiobooks in my whole life. But from what somebody else at work had actually read the book, and they said to me that they listened to it on audiobook, and it was quite interesting that each part of the story was read by a different girl. So I thought that would be quite interesting in terms of listening. It must have enhanced your listening experience.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, actually, I didn't notice that as such. You said, it sort of just seemed part of it. I suppose it just worked in that sense.
Yeah. I had somebody else who said here that she loved the book and she was interested in all the characters, although she particularly liked Rachel, who was very flawed, but who I think had started to turn herself around by the end of the book. So a lot of people were sympathising with Rachel, the main character. Rachel, the main character, the girl on the train who sees the event from looking out the train window. She is an alcoholic, and she's, as I said, she's very flawed and she has a lot of problems. But one of the questions I put out to people was did people sympathise with her? I've got somebody here, Martin, who said, I know I kind of sympathise with the main character. I felt her frustration at not being able to remember what happened that night, and it must have been awful. I myself, I didn't sympathise with her. I was a bit annoyed by her, to be honest. I found her a bit weak, and as a main character, I didn't like her very much. I didn't like any of the characters, but that's not to say I didn't enjoy it. I was still so interested in their lives in a nosy sort of way, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose I didn't sympathise, but from the bit I've been listening to, I can sort of imagine that where you're on the train and you stop at that same bit every day and you start to get to know those houses and the people coming out. I can imagine how you could get into that sort of scenario.
Almost like a TV show, I guess. Like you'd be watching other people's lives.
You become
as if
the
it's
observer.
a TV show. Yeah. Another question I asked is just in generally about the book. Did people predict the ending? Now, the ending is a big a big explosion at the ending, I guess. And if you are planning on reading the book, then turn your ears off now. But so at the end of the book, one of the characters, Megan, she has gone missing, and it later comes out that Tom, the husband of Anna and Rachel's ex-husband, has been having an affair with her and has killed her. So that was very shocking. And at the end, it all comes to a head in a bit of a violent and dramatic way. And I certainly did not see that coming. A few people said they suspected Tom. I did not suspect Tom. I thought that Hawkins had written Tom as a sort of a character that you didn't really take much notice of, which I thought was really clever, because when it came out at the end that it was Tom, I was like, wow, I did not see that coming. So that was a really interesting part of the book for me as well. So the next question I asked people was that everyone enjoys a bit of a nose into people's lives, but did you think that Rachel took it too far, even before she started trying to help with the investigation? And just from my point of view, before I get on to what other people thought, I certainly thought that Rachel took it too far. It was all good and well sort of sitting on the train observing, as we were saying earlier. It must get very boring doing the same commute every day, and looking out the window you probably do get used to things, but I thought that this was something that she'd taken too far, involving herself in other people's lives. And I guess she got a bit of a thrill out of it, I think, from walking down the road that she used to live in, and I guess she maybe thought that she would be friends with these people that she'd viewed from the train had she not divorced her husband and moved out. A few people in response to the question said that, for instance, I have got a comment here from Daniela in Raynham, who said that Rachel went too far, but that's part of the intrigue. Where would it end? And I guess I was thinking the same thing, like, God, she's got off the train and she's walking down this road she doesn't know anyone, and she's stood outside these people's houses who she doesn't know, just staring up. So that was certainly something that I could see too. I've got somebody here, Pratik, who said, yes, absolutely, living a fantasy which didn't merge into her reality, which I think is true too. Steph, again from Sittingbourne, said, I felt Rachel had nothing much else to live for. That's why she stuck her nose in. This couple were the only thing in her life other than the commute and the booze. So I think that she felt that she had to get involved, like somehow she had the right to. Plus the fact they lived in her old road, maybe she fantasised that she still belonged and that they would be her friends, which is certainly something I thought as well. I also have another comment here from Martin in Sittingbourne, who says, Rachel had her demons, and although I didn't particularly like her, I felt for her and all her problems. And as for people watching and inventing their lives, I think a lot of people do this, but not to this extent. Yes, Rachel went too far, but it was fuelled by the demon drink. Filthy stuff.
I suppose she probably did go too far, but it's what kept you, sort of reading, or in my case, kept you listening. But she went beyond that, what would be normal, I suppose.
Oh, certainly. Like, as I said, it's part of the intrigue. Like, where was it going to stop? She was just continuing to just involve herself more and more in these people's lives, even before she started helping out with the police investigation into the case of Megan going missing. So, yeah, it was certainly something that I was concerned for her about.
And there were a lot of secrets in the couple's marriages. So do you think there was any sort of trust, or how did that work?
From the face of it, when I was thinking about trust in their relationship, I thought, no, there is no trust in any of these relationships. The relationship between Rachel and her ex-husband, and even when she was married to him, and that was Tom and his new wife Anna, and also the couple who Rachel was viewing from the train, Megan and Scott. I didn't think there was any trust. But then I was talking to a few people who had read the book, and one guy come back to me, Pratik, and said he thought that everyone trusted each other, but it was all misplaced, all false trust, which I thought was quite interesting, because I hadn't really thought about it in that way. And it's true, they probably all did trust each other, because on the face of it, everyone's relationships were sort of bobbing by quite nicely, and nobody seemed to have any obvious problems. It was only when people started digging around and things like that when it happened. I mean, I don't think Anna had any thoughts that Tom was cheating on her with Megan. So I do think they trusted each other. Other people didn't think so. I've got Martin from Sittingbourne, who said there was not a lot of trust, but people seemed very forgiving, especially Rachel's friend who let her stay with her. And she's a character, Kathy I think her name was, who Rachel was a chronic alcoholic and very difficult to live with, and Kathy just seemed to keep forgiving her, and I just couldn't get my head around that she was just the nicest person in the world. I've got Daniela in Raynham, who said it didn't appear that anyone trusted anyone, and I also think I've got another comment here from Lynn in Raynham, who said Anna was trusting of Tom, but that was unfortunate for her. I've also got a comment here from Laurel in Chatham who says all the marriages were a bit flawed, even the perfect marriage that Rachel could see from the train, which turned out to be not so perfect after all. I think, judging from from how things turned out, they were right not to trust each other. And finally, I've got another comment here from another Martin who says there was certainly a lot of mistrust going on between the characters. I felt that the readers, like the characters, were kept in the dark, so I didn't know who to trust either, which made for an immersive read, which I totally agree with. I found it a very immersive read. When I was reading it, I couldn't really think about anything else, and even when I wasn't reading the book, I was thinking about all the characters and things. So I certainly think that being kept in the dark in terms of what true relationships were really worked, so the author did very well there.
Yeah, so it's just one of those things, it's very easy to look on another life and feel that's perfect or that all works.
Oh, certainly, I think that was definitely happening.
Unrevealed as it went on.
So the big reveal at the end was really shocking because of all the we weren't really sure what the relationships were like the whole way through, so it came as a shock.
So having finished the book, what surprised you the most?
So I guess one of the things that surprised me the most was how much manipulation and control was going on, sort of behind the scenes. As I said earlier, I thought Tom, who turned out to be the murderer of Megan, he was written to me what I seemed like a very small character, and I'd almost overlooked him. So when it came out that he was manipulating Rachel and that he had told her sort of things that when she'd had a drink, he told her that she was out of control, and because she suffered from memory blank, she wasn't able to remember that. So that was certainly something that that surprised me. Somebody agreed with me. They also said that they was how manipulative he had been for such a long time. That's Lynn in Raynham. I also had a comment from Laurel in Chatham who said, I was most surprised by how evil Tom turned out to be. I thought he seemed like a really nice guy who was just fed up of trying to deal with Rachel's flaws and the way she would not leave them alone. But no, he turned out to be a right two-timing killer. It was shocking. I also like the twist at the end where Rachel and Anna become almost allies because they're accomplices in his murder. I was very glad he got his comeuppance. so a few people there was shocked about how evil and how manipulative he had been. Something else that come up about how shocked they something that surprised people was that somebody was surprised that Rachel had lost her job quite early on and she just got the train to keep up appearances, and this was something that I was quite surprised at as well, that she'd actually lost her job before the book started, but she was just getting the train into work every day just to keep up appearances, which must have been costing her an absolute fortune. That was one of the only things I could think of. Somebody else, Steph in Sittingbourne, says that she was surprised by Megan's story and how she felt so sorry for her and what she went through of her first baby. She'd got in too deep with Tom and didn't deserve to die, so that's all to do with Megan's backstory. A few people said that they didn't find that there were any real surprises, but I disagree with that. There was quite a few surprises at the end, a few eye-openers to me. And Daniela in Raynham said that the ending where Rachel killed Tom was a surprise, so that was a surprise to me too.
But one of the things that I've come across since last month is BookTube, which are people reviewing books on YouTube, and I found it quite interesting to watch. It's on YouTube. I didn't know, and I know you run your own channel. We're going to talk a little bit about that.
I certainly do. It's something that I come across only recently as well. I came across it about 5 or 6 weeks ago, just looking on YouTube. I'd only ever really used YouTube to sort of watch videos of cats and music videos and things. So I'd heard about this BookTube where it's just people from all over the world. I mean, I subscribe to a channel of a few girls in Australia, America, a Scottish girl, just all over the place where there's people just talking about books, and I love to talk about books. And when I saw this, I thought, well, this is definitely something I could do. So I started uploading one video about books a week on my YouTube channel, which is Lauren and the Books, and I've just been doing that for 6 weeks now, and I'm absolutely loving it. It's just been such a success. I've got many more views and subscribers than I thought I would have, which is great. My most recent video I did, so every week it's something different about books. It might be what I'm planning to read that month or what I've just read that month. I've done a Harry Potter tag. Harry Potter is one of my all-time favourite series of books, so that was an absolute joy to do. And my most recent video I've done is a book, a video I called A Walk Down Book Memory Lane. So I've sort of taken 10 books off of my bookshelves and talked about times that they remind me of. So, for instance, The Twits by Roald Dahl, that is a book that I read when my family were living with my nan in Sheerness. And I remember me and my sister were in the small bedroom in bunk beds. and I'd been given the twits by Roald Dahl, and I was supposed to be going to bed, and I read it via the landing light. So there was no light on in the room, but the landing light was on, and I just absolutely had to read this book. And whenever I see the twits or even see a Roald Dahl book, it's always a memory that comes to the forefront of my mind. So it's just basically a selection of small, short little stories about what these books remind me of. So that was absolutely brilliant to do. I loved doing that.
And I think you're going to do a little bit of a roundup on that, but also let us know about next month's book.
Yeah, so in general, The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins, I really haven't heard much of a bad word spoken about this, certainly from the people that I know that read it. I think I'd really recommend it. If people are into crime thrillers, if people want to be gripped by a book, then I would certainly recommend this. I would say at the moment it's only out in hardback, which is something that I would normally avoid. I'm not into hardbacks. I'm a bit lazy. I don't like holding them up, but I know it is available on Kindle, and it has been out in hardback for quite a while, so it must be coming out in paperback sometime soon. But I would think this would be an absolutely great beach read. If you want something that's going to keep you gripped for a few days and keep a good pace that's going to keep you interested, then this is certainly something that I would recommend. And just in general, I love it, and everybody else that I spoke to really enjoyed it too, so I did give it 4 out of 5 stars. So The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins, very good. So the next book that we have planned to discuss in August is Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell. So last month when Daniel and I were talking, he asked me sort of what genres were popular at the moment. One of the genres I said was young adult. So this is something that's become more and more popular in recent times, not just amongst young adult readers, but amongst all ages. I mean, one of the most famous young adult books I can mention is The Fault in Our Stars by John Green, which I'm sure most people would have heard of, whether it be the film or the book. And this Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell is a book that is in the young adult genre. So I don't know much about the book. I believe it's set in the 80s, and I'm just going to do what I did last time, which I don't normally like doing, but reading out the back cover just to give you an idea of what's it about. So, Eleanor is the new girl in town, and with her chaotic family life, her mismatched clothes and unruly red hair, she couldn't stick out more if she tried. Park is the boy at the back of the bus, black t-shirts, headphones, head in a book. He thinks he's made himself invisible, but not to Eleanor, never to Eleanor. Slowly, steadily, through late-night conversations and an ever-growing stack of mixtapes, Eleanor and Park fall for each other. They fall in love the way you do the first time, when you're young and you feel as if you have nothing and everything to lose. So I'm looking forward to reading that. As I said, I don't know much about it, so it'll be a very new experience for me, as well as you guys that are planning on reading it. If you read it and you want to get in contact with me, you can contact me at laurenandthebooks@gmail.com. And as Daniel mentioned earlier, I do have a YouTube channel, which is Lauren and the Books, so you can just search for me via Lauren and the Books on YouTube. But I've also got a ULR, which is www.youtube.com/Lauren and the Books.
Lauren, as always, it's been great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
And we look forward to seeing you next month and seeing how you go on.
To it. Yeah, really looking forward to it.
That is our regular slot with Lauren, our Monday night community show at Book Club right here at BRFM 95.6 this evening.